Hello everyone, this is B Harper from supermarcy.com and welcome back to another review. Terminator Genisys has been spanked pretty damn hard, as I'm sure you know. Early reviews have come out saying that it is an abomination, a tragedy, a waste of time, money and talent, and everything wrong in the world. It is a pox upon humanity. Yeah. You know what? That is their opinion, and they're very much inclined to it. But here's the thing, as I'm sure you already know. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You can sit down and watch a film that has either been revered or reviled, and you can work up your own opinion if you sit down and watch it for yourself. So therefore, allow me to indulge you with my opinion of Terminator Genisys. I liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. Make no mistake, Terminator Genisys is a comic book movie. And that's not saying too much when you keep in mind that the idea and the concept and the themes of Terminator are comic book concepts. Yes, you have the very human and affecting storylines, but then you have everything else. Time-traveling cyborgs, futuristic post-apocalyptic wars, machines rebelling against humanity, and, just a nuclear holocaust upon humankind, and humans rising from the ashes and fighting back, and all that wonderful stuff. It is so beautifully pulpy, and it is this very simplistic idea that has kept this idea of the Terminator alive, as well as other things, of course. This is not a condemnation or any means of talking down what James Cameron established with his first two films. But if people accuse this movie of being comic book, how come they don't say the very same thing about actual comic book movies? The Avengers, the Hulk, Captain America, Batman, Superman, everything out there. Those are comic book movies. Those have exaggerated concepts. So I don't see this type of, I don't see how this type of criticism can be levelled against the Terminator franchise. It's a little more adult, shall we say. It's rather violent, but at the core, it is still very much a comic book idea. And Terminator Genisys actually capitalizes on this. It is a Terminator movie wearing a comic book skin. And in my eyes, I thought it was kind of cool. It's not without its flaws, so let's just get this out of the way. There are numerous plot holes in this movie, but most of it does come from the idea that, time travel is non-linear. The best thing about time travel, and simultaneously the worst part about time travel in movies, is that you can do practically anything you want with it, because nobody knows how time moves. Even if you have Stephen Hawking explaining time travel to you, you still have the idea that, nobody has gone through interdimensional travel. They have not gone back or forth through time. So therefore they cannot deliver to you an educated and wholly founded opinion on how this phenomenon works. And in some regards, time travel can be used as a very lazy storytelling mechanism, and Terminator Genisys is unfortunately guilty of that. But at the same time, it is not content to just rest on the novelty of time travel. It actually utilizes this thing in a creative way. Whether or not it is successful, it is completely subjective and up to you. But the rest of the films didn't necessarily use time travel, okay? You have the cyborgs being, thrown back through time into present day and what have you to, protect John Connor or Sarah Connor or what have you. And in Terminator Salvation, it all took place, well, save for the prologue, it all took place in the future, during the apocalyptic war of which, John Connor was doing his thing. In Terminator Genisys, we hop back and forth through time. That the characters all go to various eras of their history and try to right the wrongs that are being done. And I don't think any other movies in the franchise have done that. I can't say whether or not Sarah Connor Chronicles have done that, because quite frankly, I haven't watched it, and well, whatever episodes I did watch, I was very bored by. Bad. So going back to the negatives of this movie, your mileage will vary as to how you decide to approach the characters. Alright, so we all know that Arnold Schwarzenegger is getting long in the tooth. So he's not the physical prime that he was in Terminator 2. You know what, you can't help that. But they do have a fairly reasonable explanation as to why they, have the Terminator looking the way he does. Kyle Reese did say in the first movie that cyborgs are fitted with living human tissue. Therefore, they are permitted to grow older, at least, on the surface. Underneath, their endoskeleton is perfectly primed and still physically capable of doing whatever tasks, but human tissue on their bodies is given permission to age, and I actually do like that concept being in the movie, just being used to explain why Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is the way he is, physically. And special props to Arnie himself, even though there is definitely a sense of parody in the way that he plays this T-101, it's still done with affection. He's really not taking the piss of, James Cameron's work, because those two men love each other. So it'd be pretty shitty on his part just to, completely, flip the bird at James Cameron, by portraying the character as he is. And call me sappy, call me sentimental, but I do like the relationship that he and Sarah Connor, played by Emilia Clarke, have. And a word on Emilia Clarke. I feel that she will surprise quite a few people in the audience, especially if you are a fan of Game of Thrones. Emilia Clarke plays Daenerys Targaryen, and she is one of the major power players in that television show. She always has this sense of strength about her, and it translates quite well with Sarah Connor. Now, actually, I don't think I ever saw any sort of Khaleesi homages to her character from Game of Thrones in this movie, so, props. Jai Courtney as Kyle Reese. I've always liked Jai Courtney, so I don't get why this man is hated so much. Like, you'd swear that the way some people, talk about him, it's like he violated their dogs or something. I don't get it. He's not trying to be like Michael Biehn in this movie, okay? He is a young, somewhat brash individual, but he still has a sense of responsibility about him. He takes his work seriously. He was sent back in time to protect Sarah, and, that's his mission. And Jason Clarke, I have an exceedingly grumpy friend who seems to really hate this man with a passion, and once again, I don't understand why. Jason Clarke has proven himself time and again as a strong actor in both film and television. And the only criticism I can level against this man is that he isn't given enough to do in this movie. And this film, moves by at a very sort of fast pace. There is no real boring moments in this movie. It is just go, 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 go. Also, a word on the action. Pretty darn good. This film values not just the digital effects that it is, granted and a given, but it also does utilize, practical stuff. Animatronics, puppetry. There is still that sense of ingenuity behind the camera. And it's because that the filmmaker, Alan Taylor, the director, he understands, in terms of the more bombastic parts of the Terminator franchise, is that you've got to have that sense of reality, like, you can reach out and touch a Terminator, right? And that's what this film has. It still has a sense of dignity about it, in terms of, what it has, the tangibility, as it were. What else can I say? Oh yeah, the digital effects really aren't that bad, and in a couple of places, yeah, it does look kind of wonky. In particular, the T-1000 character, it just still doesn't measure up to, Robert Patrick's portrayal of the character, but that's not necessarily the actor's fault, it's just how they just approach the visual effects component, but you know what, it doesn't matter. This entire movie is about fun. It is about letting go of any preconceived notions you may have about it. And I feel that's where some of the early criticisms come from. People were probably expecting something akin to James Cameron, foolishly enough, and I can't understand why. James Cameron made it perfectly obvious he was not directing this movie. And to go in expecting the aesthetics and the caliber of James Cameron is just doing yourself and the film a disservice. There is no reason why you should accept anything less, of course, but the film makes it perfectly obvious it is going by its own path. It's not trying to ape anybody else. It is not trying to be what it's not. And that's the bottom line about this movie. It is its own entity. Yes, it screws up the timeline, but at this point, who cares? The timeline as it is completely screwed up. So you can either go into this movie feeling grumpy, feeling down, and, saying, oh, this is not James Cameron, or, oh, if I was 12 years old, I might have liked that. You're just going to make yourself miserable. Well, yourself and everybody else. So, if I really had to, decry this movie on anything, is that despite a couple of some really nifty approaches, it still doesn't try anything groundbreaking, okay? Its use of time travel is admirable, and I like the actors, and the action. The action in this movie is better than you would expect. Specifically, that very famous and very televised Golden Gate Bridge sequence. That was pretty impressive. And some of the Terminator throwdowns are quite impressive as well. I'll leave you to decide for yourself as to whether or not you agree with me in that aspect, but when it comes to making an action film, you gotta pull the stops out. You gotta reach a particular standard, and that's what Genisys does. It manages to, get that basic concept down, and whether or not you accept it, that's your own prerogative. But to me, Genisys is a respectable action movie. Okay, so perhaps that is the best approach to take. Just, keep in mind you are going into an action movie, and whatever thoughts you have about the Terminators, and about the stories, and about the themes, in this case, it's secondary. But in a sense, it is still essential. So, in that respect, I give Terminator Genisys a 3 out of 5. I'm serious, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. It's really not as terrible as so many people are saying it is. And that's only because they were expecting something greater, B, their expectations were way too high, or C, they're just really, really grumpy people, and they don't know how to have fun. Okay guys, so thank you very much for listening, and as always, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.